You've been waiting. It's been promised for so long, but it's finally here, folks. Today, we're here with the man, the myth, the legend, and none other than the king of Smash himself, SwagDean, to roll out the first installment of ARH Smash. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Star Wars Destiny folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando, the Commando cast. Happy Destiny Friday and happy ARH Smash Day. Dean, how's it going, my friend?
It is going excellent. My family got sick this week and I dodged it. I feel like nothing could stop this train. Feeling good.
Nice. Well, it's good. We haven't caught up in a bit, so... Yeah, it's been actually, when I was uploading the files and everything for this, I didn't realize that the Phase 3 was actually 2021. So it's been a spell. We did our little two-man CAD Ahsoka thing in 2022, but it's been 2021 since Phase 3 hit. So yeah, ARH Smash. What we are bringing today is 8 characters for everyone to enjoy, and kind of the format. How we talked before, what we want to do here is we want to explain first why only 8, and then we want to take you through the characters. Dean's going to take you through the characters, the theme of each deck, and then if you decide you want to, you can stick around afterwards, and we'll kind of talk about some of the logistical challenges on why we decided only 8, and so on. So let's just jump right in. So Dean, why only 8? Why did we land on 8?
Yeah, so we had greater ambitions. We originally were thinking 16, which is about the same size as our previous expansions, and when we really got down into it, some of those characters just weren't coming together quite like we wanted. And so once we narrowed it down to like, okay, these 8 are actually pretty unique, and they work well within it. They seem that their powers very similar. It's 4 heroes, 4 villains. You got a little bit of each color. This felt like a good unit. So I don't want people to think that like we're done. I think it's something we're probably going to revisit over time. Maybe even do like, a 2-character booster like we did. But for now, this felt like a good way to kind of slide in and get ARH Smash started.
Yeah, I think that's a good... I mean, there's no shortage of smashable characters in ARH, right? That's not the issue. Mm-hmm. The issue is the supporting cards. And again, we can talk more about some specifics afterwards and stuff that we're very much looking forward to in the next 6+ more expansions of ARH right into the future that'll help support that. Right, but without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in alphabetical order to today's 8. So first up is Bing, the cybernetic killer. So Dean, walk us through what's kind of the shtick, what's the main key points of this build.
So one of my main goals with ARH Smash is I really wanted to highlight their innovation. So anything that they created, I wanted to try to make sure it was represented here. And I think I was able to get almost all of it in this 8, which is nice. For Bing, he is going to be the character that's bringing the detect mechanic. A lot of the detect characters, I had difficulty building around, but this one seemed like it still worked. He's got a way to pump his indirect damage. And then there's also a unique thing about this one. I'm going to mention it up front because I know people are going to goof it up. But it has a set-aside card. So if you spawn it in the thing, or if you just have like the deck, he doesn't get 16 cards. The Chemical Strike is a set-aside card that can be summoned by, I think it's the Gas Bomb. But it seemed like a neat mechanic that I wanted to kind of bring in. So he has a little less health than some of the ARH characters, but he does have Black Market Arm as an upgrade, and once he gets that and gets an extra 2 health, I felt like he then jumped on being very strong with the others. And if you can get a consistent resolve with his indirects being bigger because of his detect, he felt like a pretty good character. We were able to highlight some of the new downgrades that were created by ARH, and there was some fun events, tricky kind of, yellow. You always like it when they can have like weird, tricky events, and especially some of the ones that reference the detected cards in that mechanic. So, Bing, it's crazy indirect and messing around with the the tech mechanic is really what Bing is bringing to us.
Awesome. And I also felt it was appropriate to lead with Bing because looking at him, he's probably one of the characters from this wave that most easily integrates power level wise into the existing phase 1, 2, 3, let's call it the FFG era pool. Which brings up a good point, right? We've talked about that on cast before, where these characters aren't necessarily directly intended to be played alongside the FFG era phase 1, 2, 3. That said, Dean has kind of made it his personal mission to do as best as he can. So, where did you end up landing on testing with that?
So they definitely have a little extra power. A lot of them have activation abilities and power actions. They tend to have a little bit more health or damage. That there's like a little bit pushed over the FFG stuff. My recommendation now, if you just did ARH and you only had 8 characters, I feel like you'd play those matchups pretty quickly. I would recommend, if you're going to play the ARH, that each person draws one ARH character and then one FFG character. And that would be, then you have a huge pool of possible combinations. You each get one character that's probably a little bit pushed. And I tried to make them pretty even with each other, but like as we go through some of these characters, they're just a little bit more potent than an FFG character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was, when you brought up that that's how you and your folks were doing the testing, I thought that was pretty smart, actually. So good shout out there. All right, so next up we have Cara Dune, the canceled warrior herself. So what's she do? Does she just beat stuff up?
Yeah, Cara's pretty straightforward. She's just good upgrades, throwing down some guns and messing people up. Obviously, the whole time FFG was around and the Mandalorian came out, I was like, oh, when are we going to get Mandalorian characters in FFG? And then they canceled, and we knew that they were coming. So it is nice that we start getting some Mandalorian characters into Smash. Cara is a great character. She's pretty straightforward, but she does have some fun tricks. We gave her Veteran of War, which is a pretty potent card. A lot of good upgrades, and she's got a couple. I tried to give her a couple of the cards that referenced the Mandalorian art.
Roll in the mud. Roll in the mud.
And yeah, we got her roll in the mud. So she's pretty straightforward, which is nice. Sometimes you don't need to go crazy with it, but she's got a good power action. She's pretty good and consistent. I feel like everyone will have a good time if you draw her.
Awesome. And then one more thing I did want to point out as well on this is that you will see cards like Headstrong pop up a lot in every deck. And I know one of the things we learned coming out of phase 1 going into phase 2 was that we really had to watch the rarity because we were causing demands on riot shields and stuff like that. And that's not really a concern for Smash, or excuse me, for ARH, right? So definitely more liberally use those. And also we kind of have to, because there's only so many options, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of limitations. We talked about this before with events. There's a lot of events that reference specific types or multiples of types that you can't control in Smash, things like that. So there are a couple repeats. As much as I can make the deck thematic and unique, I did, but there's still going to be a couple repeat cards. But thankfully, another restriction we had is that we didn't want to use any FFG stuff. We want you to be able to go to a printer and just say print it. So any character that references FFG cards, we didn't really consider them. But the nice thing about this is that any of the people that are out there printing, if they choose to, can make smack tests and just send them out to you.
Yep, perfect. All right, next up we have one of my favorite card designs from the last set, Cham Syndulla.
Yep, and here we did get interesting adding in some plots. We had tried to avoid them unless we really needed them in the original sets, but here some of these were pretty interesting, and it worked pretty well with Cham, so he gets the plot. And here we're showing the indirect as a cost, which is something that ARH added in. They also created the Twi'lek type, or I guess class.
Subtype.
Faction. Yeah. Subtype, there you go, that's the right word. So putting in the Calicori, things like that. The Twi'lek Resistance Fighter, trying to get some of that Twi'lek synergy going, and cards are like a step ahead with the resource costs, trying to get some of that unique stuff. But he had a I played actually one of my most recent games I played testing was with Cham, and he's a lot of fun to play with his ability. When they gain resources, you get to add that and then remove it and deal indirect. So even though he's a lot of indirect in his deck, I feel like he gets to deal it pretty consistently, where he felt like he was pretty powerful.
Nice. All right, Fifth Brother. This is our second stab at Fifth Brother, right?
Yes, and with Fifth Brother, we wanted to get an Inquisitor, and they put a lot of Inquisitor cards in the first couple sets from ARH. So getting a character that could do that. One of the sisters was also smashable, but she was just complicated with her write-up. So we went with Fifth Brother, who's a little bit more straightforward. Also seems very potent with his activating ability. Also gave them the plot with the Shot of Darkness, which just kind of punishes the discard to reroll. It's got a lot of fun, unique Inquisitor tricks, which I liked. I think actually he's one of the most thematic decks. Like everything in this deck is all about Inquisitors and that kind of, re-rolling, trying to mess up with their ability to really do what they want to do.
Nice. All right, this one, Leia Organa, Adept Student. So now do keep in mind she has been balanced to 16 points, but she was printed at 15, so she is smashable.
Yeah, we don't care about errata. Printed all the way. I think it's going to be nice to have a non-mill Leia in Smash, which is fun. She's got Guardian, which is there's not a lot of Guardians in Smash that I think of. There's a little bit of characters that have some of that play, and gave her some of the Renew mechanic in her event package. So since Renew was one of the things they created where you can play a card once, and then once it's in your discard pile, you can then play it again at a different cost. I think that's a neat mechanic, so we gave that to Leia, that she's a little bit tanky with the Guardian, giving herself shields, and sticking around playing cards from discard. She's just kind of a tough character to finish.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see how she plays in Smash, because you can't necessarily, like if she runs up against somebody who has a bunch of zeros in the deck, you could be whiffing all day long, right? So, very interesting. All right, next up, we finally did it, Dean. We finally did it. We finally got you your Obi.
Oh, man. The amount of effort we've put into trying to get an Obi-Wan Smash is unbelievable. We tried cheating like we did with Cat and Ahsoka with the FFG ones, and now we got it. Now, Obi-Wan is pretty strong.
Yeah.
He was also been eroded above 15, I believe.
I don't think he has yet, actually.
He hasn't?
I don't think so.
I thought it did when I was looking at the website, but I could be wrong. He also, that Guardian 2 was a crazy, new idea. So he has a slightly softer upgrade package because he's pretty strong with the ability to do his discard sides as melee. So he has a 3-1-2 double shield. Like that's a really good die for Smash. So his upgrades are not like crazy powerful. They're still good. They're still thematic, but I felt like I had to tone down his event package and stuff just a little bit to make him in line with the others. But it feels so good to have Obi-Wan in Smash.
Nice. Man, he's going to be gross with Mill Leia. It's going to be gross.
Oh, if you were to pair the two of them together, that would be evil.
All right, Kira. I very much like this deck. I think this deck was very well done. So, Kira, Crimson Dawn, Lieutenant.
Yeah, so with Kira, we are getting to play around with the charm mechanic. A lot of the charm characters didn't deal natural damage, and so I was worried about their win condition in Smash. Like, you really want to get someone who either ramps like crazy and can play big upgrades, like a Jabba character that doesn't deal damage. And a lot of these charm characters, like, you clearly had to build around them facilitating another character. And I wanted to make it so that if you drew a charm character and another non-damage dealing character, that like you were just like out. You never had a chance to play it. So Kira's nice that she has 3 damage sides and can deal damage with the charm. So she just works as a damage dealing character. But we can still put in a lot more events and things that reference that charm mechanic. And we also got another plot with the Underworld. We got the throne with her.
Nice. Yeah, I really like this one. I think you did well in that. We were talking a bit about the charm stuff early on, and because we were talking about what's her name, Guarsa, and it just didn't pencil out right. So
yeah, it felt like there was so many pairings where she just didn't do what you wanted, and you would just lose. You killed her partner, and she was done.
All right, now this is one that flew, pun intended, completely under my radar until Dean brought him in, and this is Soontir Fel, the Baron of the Empire. I do want to point out that is not Soontir Fel. That is just a normal TIE pilot. So someone can ding me for the badges being wrong, but you know what? You can only find so many images on the internet.
Yeah, of some of these characters. Soontir is something I've been trying to do for a while, which is a red villain pilot. If you think about the FFG red villain pilots, they were either over 15 or they had like all modified sides or
Mauler
something
Mythal.
like that.
Good old Mauler.
Yeah, it's like Mauler. So this is the first time where it's like, ooh, guys under 15, all base damage sides. He's got an interesting mechanic with the piloting. This allowed us to bring in a lot more. We finally got TIE fighters, and we got 3 different types of TIE fighter. So I was excited about bringing in Soontir. He's not a household name, but he is the only red villain pilot in all of Smash. And that also opened up a bunch of red events that were pretty unique, that are only in this deck. So I was excited about it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that takes us to the end of the 8. But I did want to use that kind of as a lead-in with the pilot being last to kind of talk about our next thing, which is, kind of the behind the curtains, why we ended up on 8, some of the challenges that we're facing, and maybe some of the ARH ears that are out there listening can think about over the next couple sets to kind of maybe feed us. So one of my jobs, I was assigned, Hera was one of the characters I was assigned to work on. And I contacted Dean about, I don't know, a couple weeks later, and it's like, dude, I just can't make it work. I just can't do it, right? Because with our rule of not wanting to use FFG cards, there's no pilot package, quote unquote, like we had with Assail and so on, right? Assail, Eject, and Flanked by Wingman, right? So it was very hard to get the pilot Hera off. And we ran into some other characters that we don't need to go into as well. So I do want to point out that Dean deserves literally all the credit for these 8 decks. These are all his. He dug down hard, and when Andrew was like, maybe we just need to come back in a set or 2, he was like, no, we're going to do it. We're going to do it now. And he made it happen. So everyone should, if you're still here, please drop a thank you, Dean, in the comments. Pat on the back. But Dean, you're the man, so thank you.
Yeah. A bunch of the characters you were working on were also harder, I think. Like Hera, you want to make her distinct from the Hera that already exists in Smash. We'd want to make her distinct from the Soontir that we were looking at, which is already a unique spot. And I think that just got tough with getting enough variety and support with her with that FFG stuff. And another thing was like Baze and Chirrut.
I tried so hard on those guys. I tried so hard.
Yeah, they work so well together. And there's a bunch of our AH characters that work that are kind of built like that. Like, the Brood Droid is smashable, but it really wants to be with another Brood Droid. And, there are things like that. And if they have limitations, so like Chirrut, you can't play blue abilities on him. Sometimes it really hinders you. Same with Cal Kestis, his upgrade limitation, where you can't play any other colors on him. Like, if you drew a red character and the upgrades you're getting are red, you just can't play him on Cal. That's really frustrating. And another popular character like Zeb. We don't have Zeb in Smash, but with his all modified sides die, you can obviously build a deck around that, but in Smash, you get stuck with him. If you got Zeb Padme, you will just never resolve his dice. And there's a bunch of characters that Zeb Pilot Vader, or Zeb,
Yoda. Yeah.
Yoda.
Goes on and on, yeah.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of characters he would just be useless. So it's a bummer to not be able to get to them. And then there's a couple more bounty hunters that were hard to make unique. Like we have a lot of bounty hunters in Smash, so like Aura Singh didn't really stand out all that much. Like maybe other items will come out, and maybe like the event package for her could be really unique and stand out, or something like that. But there's a couple characters that didn't feel super unique when we got to them. We did eliminate all characters that referenced FFG stuff, so like Ren, Grief Karga, things like that were automatically wiped out. And I don't know that the flippable mechanic is fair in Smash.
No. I mean, to be fair, we haven't really tested it, but it seems not so, right?
I think like there's the idea that you could race and you could kill someone before they flip, and in Smash, it's just so much less likely. And so they just get like a suddenly huge die. So that doesn't feel super fair. I know Fennec was one he worked on, and the gray or the non-affiliated pool was just a little bit weak, or she just didn't feel great. So there's a bunch of things you have to work on. There are a few characters that I think are still ripe for Smash that'll get considered over time. But for here, this felt like the best deliverable package. This 8 just felt like a good place to stop at the moment.
Yep. And then another 3 sets of ARH stuff when we've got more stuff to pull from. Well, we'll have more characters too now, won't we? But characters is not the problem. It's the supporting stuff right now. So
that is the main thing. Although, like I said, I did look at people that are already in Smash less. Like there is. So like I said, the Hera, I was less excited about working Hera in just because we have a Hera, and it's going to be a very similar like pilot-y package. There is a Padme already, even though the Padme would be different. It's like Leia felt markedly different, going from a mill red to blue, melee shields renew.
Well,
that
and
felt
Padme
like an entirely different
Padme
thing.
pulls Diplo, right? So that's an FFG card. So
Another problem with Padme, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, again, thanks for putting so much work into this and making it happen. Again, everyone needs to understand that, yes, I'm doing the graphics and stuff, but if it wasn't for him, we would not be having this conversation right now. So thank you, Dean, for making this happen. And big shout out to our ARH folks for continuing to supply the content on which we insert metaphor here, I don't know, on which we build.
Yep. I'd also like to shout out my friend George. He helped me with a lot of the testing. We didn't use as many of our usual crew for testing. Part of that was to keep it simpler. We didn't really sure about deadlines. And another thing is that the pool of people that were releasing this to, I felt like let's let those people be surprised and excited about a new product. That would have been kind of spoiled for them if they were part of the testing product. So they get this get this delivered to them as a surprise. So I'm hoping that people that tested with us before don't feel like they got left out for any reason other than we kind of wanted you to have fun being part of the audience of this one.
A lot of them are actually FFG playtesters or involved in that in some way as well these days. So
yeah, a lot of them have moved over. So it's like, we'll keep it simple.
Well, awesome, man. As we wrap up, do you have anything else to add or anything you wanted to talk about?
Smash is always on my mind, so it's always something I'm going to try to come back to and see if we can grow in ways that make sense. It's not going to be sets all the time, but I never feel like it's over. I keep thinking about it.
Nice. Well, thank you everyone for watching this morning and hanging out. So if you haven't seen already, in the description I have a link to the TTS JSON that has everything in there in one big box. It's its own separate set box, as we did with Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, and so on. Then, of course, the link to the actual PDF, which you can print and play. And I am also happy to announce that I have sent the asset files over to Aegis Creative as well already. He has the high-res images of that. No, I don't think you can buy from him tomorrow, but maybe the next day, because Julio's pretty good about stuff like that. So make sure to go over and check him out as well. So awesome. We're going to wrap it up. Make sure, again, to leave your love for Dean in the comments. I expect multiple, many paragraphs. But no. So again, thanks for joining me. Nicely done. Say it with me, Dean.
Go Commando.